Okay, this is about as far away from what I would normally do on YouTube. I just don't know how I'm going to go about it, so I'm just going to do it, okay? Transformers ENERGON! Transformers ENERGON is almost borderline, at least for the first 10 episodes. It's a Transformers rite of passage video. It's about a whiny little snot-nosed shit tip called Kicker and his impetuous little douchebag of a friend called Ironhide. And that's pretty much it, really. I must admit, for the first 10 or 12 episodes, it spends so much time building a universe that isn't really there, unsuccessfully. It was quite poor, really. In fact, to be honest with you, if you want to sort of enjoy ENERGON, I would recommend don't even bother watching the first 10 episodes, because you don't really need them. Everything that happens in the first 10 or 12 episodes is only reiterated later on. It's like they don't set the pace very well. Okay, let's go for the bad stuff to start with. Terracons. The Terracons appear right from the start and just go in invading for ENERGON all the time. The Terracons. This is going to be spoiler-tastic, sort of. Okay, if you're worried about it, stop, turn off. So the Terracons come down and they eat ENERGON, and they get these stars on their backs like dirty humps that say that they're full of ENERGON, and then the other Terracons that are like birdies pick up the Terracons that are like pussycats and then take them off into space. But they don't really tell you why. There's no theory to it. It doesn't really make sense until you get into it later on. But they take... I mean, how long does it take? What? 14 episodes until you really find out why the Terracons are attacking all the places with ENERGON in them. It's too long. It's too dragged out. I'm gonna pick specific bits about this because I'm not very good at this. Elaborate. I've not watched all of it, by the way. I've not seen all of them. I've seen up to like episode 35, 36. So I've got about 20 to watch. I got to that 30 odd stage, and I know I'm going to watch them, but it's quite hard going. I think I need to sort of get back to normal life for a little while before I, It's got a lot of changing sides in it. It's got a lot of Decepticons that used to be Decepticons that are now not Autobots, but... Sorry, I got distracted. Computer's on. It's got a lot of Decepticons that change over to being Autobots, but they don't ever go over to actually being Autobots. They don't take their Decepticon badge off and put an Autobot one on. They're still Decepticons, but because of the period of peace that they've had in between, they just stop arguing with the Autobots and all sort of just coincide. Which I think is very much like life, isn't it? We don't choose a side particularly. We just sort of interact with each other and get on with it. That's fair enough. Got no problem with that. And it's also full of self-doubt, and it's also full of inner conflict, and I quite like that too. I'm going to pick on one specific character, which is... I can't remember his name now. To the Google. Demolisher. Now, I quite like Demolisher because Demolisher is good friends with Ironhide, and he's kind of good friends with Kicker as well. And I guess in the 3 or so years since the Decepticons have really made any sort of salient attack on the Autobots, they've all just learnt to not get along, but just get on with each other. And it seems like Demolisher just sort of he tolerates and gets along with people, and he's found a bit of pride in his little job as a guard, essentially, that he just stands at the front gates of Autobot City or whatever it is and just stops baddies from getting in, which is a bit odd because technically he is one. And then as the Decepticons start turning up, and as sniffles that Megatron is alive start coming back, he starts to think in the back of his mind, I'm not sure. And all the way up to, spoiler alert, all the way up to when he gets killed, he's always second guessing about whether he's a Decepticon or an Autobot. And he dies a true Decepticon, I must admit that. And I like that in a conflict. I like that sort of reality of life's not quite so cut and dried as what colour badge you're wearing. I think that was one of the good bits about it. Unfortunately, then he dies and gets reformatted and prays to come back and sort of have vengeance on the people that killed him as Snowcat. Snowcat spends most of his time in space or flying, but Snowcat is a snowcat. He's got skis, and he skis around space while yodeling and laughing maniacally to himself. I didn't like that. I don't know why they had Snowcat in there. I don't get what relevance he had. Whether it was just they designed a toy and had to fit it in the cartoon somehow in the absolutely veiled hope that they were going to sell what is quite a bad toy by having a really bad character with a really bad sort of catchphrase of yodeling all over what? I don't know what they were thinking. Some of the stuff in this is questionable at best. It's absolutely fucking awful. Ironhide. Now Ironhide is gung-ho and young and dying to get on with some stuff, and he kind of really wants to be a big amazing warrior, but he can't be because he's young and green. He's not green, he's blue and yellow, blue and red, which is odd because he's more Optimus Prime colour than Optimus Prime is in this, and normally blue and red would instill the hero. He doesn't really come out as the hero. In fact, even up into the 30s he struggles being the hero. He's not, like, he's flawed. And again, that's one of the things I like about ENERGON is you didn't have to be a great big superhero all the time. They were quite happy to have flawed characters that just messed up. And that was alright. It brought a bit more of humanity to it, which is an irony in itself because it's not about really humans. But it was alright. It just brought a bit of normality to it. It made it easier to get used to the characters by them being a bit flawed. But anyway, he was gung-ho, and all the way through it, little bit by little bit, he kind of learns what's going on. Like about halfway through, there's a big race where he has to go in as car mode and assumes that he's going to be able to wipe everyone, because he'll be better than them. It works out that he needs to start thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead and that sort of stuff, and then he has to fight Optimus, and he's like, "Oh, what do I do?" It was I didn't mind him by halfway through, but even so, when he was in it too much, it just got too much, and you just wanted to move on to something else. Kicker is a knob. However, the one saving grace for Kicker being a knob is his dad is even worse. The human characters in this are absolutely god-awful. Really, really bad. I think the worst one, though, is Kicker's pseudo-girlfriend, what's-her-face? Misha. Because she's just such a wet blanket. She's got no backbone at all. It's horrible. And then she grows this massive backbone at the end by going, "Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that," with Alpha Q. And it's like, you've been a wet blanket all the way through and now you're the one with the balls. Really? Really? So you're going to put on your spacesuit, you're going to look pseudo-fit. I don't think she looks fit because she's a cartoon. She's drawn in that slutty cartoon way that you kind of want your girlfriend to look like, even though she knows she's never going to. She looks a bit like that. She puts on a black spacesuit about halfway through, and her and Kicker have this arrangement where they're sort of friends. And she's just annoying because she sits there just being all helpless all the way through it until all of a sudden she just goes, "No, I'm going to make a really bold move," and it always seems like the right thing to do, and sort of teaching Kicker a lesson on the way through. There's no progression. It's just useless, heroic. Oh, dull. I'm not painting a very good picture of this. I must admit it's not the best thing. I'm going to go on to the good stuff in a bit. What else did I like? Because I've moaned quite a lot. I like the super linking. I like the fact that 2 robots go together to make Big Robot. And I like the fact that they actually talk about how they practice at super linking. So it's not just a natural function of two robots to sort of turn their own head upside down, put their arse in the air and then link onto something else. They actually have to sort of, they call it breathe and think about it, but they do actually have to practice being joined to be sort of good at it and be functional at it. Again, that's another good thing about ENERGON, is it didn't just assume that because they're robots they're automatically going to sync up and be amazing at something. They actually had to put some effort in. Quite like that. Hotshot, supposed to be really heroic. Ugly looking character. I mean, I must admit, some of the blocky stuff in this is just really, really horrific. And alright, yes, as far as cartoons goes, they made a cartoon where the characters look like the toys that you took out of the box. Now, I really can see why you would do that. I get it from a marketing perspective. What I don't understand is that's fucking horrible. Just the head sculpt alone is worthy of a golden raspberry. I like the wingy door things. The feet are too big. The knees are stupid. People are downstairs. It's just not very good. Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime is just Optimus Prime with David Kaye's voice. He's Fatimus Prime. He has yellow eyes. We all know that Autobots have sort of blue eyes. He relies on his Superlink way too much. Anytime he's going to do anything useful whatsoever, it seems like he's completely incapable of being Optimus Prime without having his 4 extra limbs stuck to him. Plus, you never ever see him in truck mode with his trailer on that carries the 4 extra limbs, and I don't get that. Oh, it's all going a bit G1, isn't it? And all of a sudden it's just Optimus Prime, Superlink, and then his arms and stuff will go on, but they come out of nowhere. Where do they come from? Where did they go? It's like there's a third dimension with all the stuff, and it doesn't... Oh. This is sort of superseded later on by one of my favourite things about this, which was Wing Saber. For starters, I would fucking kill for a Wing Saber. I don't own an Optimus Prime to put him on, but I would absolutely murder someone for a Wing Saber. Because, as I said, the Superlink thing goes really well. I've Superlinked... You've probably seen the video. I've Superlinked him with him, which doesn't work at all. I have at some point got Rodimus coming. And Rodimus I'll Superlink with Hotshot and have them two together on my display. That will be super magnifico. So I like Superlinking. I quite like Optimus Prime's character. He's overly heroic, but then kind of, sort of, when isn't he? But then when Wing Saber comes along, and he puts Wing Saber on like a great big armoured suit, he's really good. And to have that toy, I give my right arm for that pairing together. I mean, just a Wing Saber on its own's like 60 quid, and even then they're rare as rocking horse shit. One day, auto assembly, maybe. So this is some more good stuff. It's got a Mega Supreme in it. You can't really go far wrong with a Mega Supreme. A Mega Supreme again combines with Optimus Prime. It looks quite good in the cartoon. It doesn't look very good in real life. It's not very good in real life. You basically just fold Optimus up into truck mode, leave his head sticking out the top, and fold him into a Mega Supreme. It's not the best. Megatron. Megatron is dead at the beginning. He's just like a consciousness. Then Megatron steals the ENERGON that's supposed to be waking up Unicron and wakes himself up, which is great. And then he comes to life, which is, again, great. The smashed up Megatron that's part of the wall, as it's become 3 years since he's been dead, and he's been all sort of moulded over with moss and stuff like that. So when he's reformatted into his new shape of spaceship Megatron, again, fine. But he's a bit sort of single-minded, and he should be single-minded in that he's a maniacal madman who is absolutely dying to sort of just kill the Earth, or kill, well, everything really, until he just owns it all. But he's not very bright with it. He's so focused and so you will do as I say that he just seems to forget to turn his brain on sometimes, and he'd much rather just bash stuff over the head rather than really take a step back and think about what the next best move is going to be. In fact, he needs to learn the lesson in this that Ironhide did, which is an irony in itself, because Ironhide's a wiener, and at least sort of Megatron was a tough guy. And it kind of stays exactly the same all the way through it as well. You know, it's not good, it's not bad. It certainly wasn't the best villain in it. There are two best villains in this. Let's talk about them. Shock Blast. Shock Blast isn't Shockwave. Yes, he's purple, and yes, he's got one eye, and yes, he's got a massive, great big gun for an arm. Shockwave is cold, quiet, calculating, quite happy to sit in the shadows at the back of the universe until his opportunity comes to strike. And the chances are when he does strike, you won't hear it, because he'll do it while he's shooting you in the back just to get the objective that he wants. Shock Blast will stand over you with his foot on your chest as he saws your head off with the other end of your own arm. He's completely crazy, and he just wants to hurt people, and he wants to see their look on their face while they're doing it. Those two things couldn't be more difficult, and as I said in my colour video for the 5 Awesome Transformers guys the other day, purple Decepticons are always the best, unless it's Galvatron. And he was a bit more blue anyway. But he's awesome, properly good. Really, really liked it. The other baddie, who's only a pseudo baddie, I'm going to let you watch it, is Scorponok. Now again, on the toy front, because I tend to buy the toys for the characters that I like in the film, because I am secretly deep down 12 and have that emotional connection between what I'm watching on the screen, holding in my hand, going clonk, 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 ah, pff. Scorponok's brilliant. He's actually deep and well written. There's like a whole point to him, and when he starts betraying people, when you think, oh, he's betraying people, Decepticons don't, you know, they are inherently Decepticons, so they always are essentially after what they want for themselves above what they really want for the Decepticonian law. Lots of the stuff that he does doesn't make any sense at all when you think that he's a filthy traitor until you get about halfway through the series, and then you sort of go, oh, I get you, oh, I get you now. He's deep, he's like an ogre, he's got layers. Watch it, you'll see what I mean. It's all available on YouTube. There you go. I don't know how long I've been talking, absolutely ever. I'm going to try and wrap this up soon. It's just, I'm only halfway through, got to watch the rest of it. I'm sure it can't get any better or worse. Okay, now I'm going to leave the last thing that I'm going to say to Unicron. Now, I've not watched the Unicron trilogy. I can only assume that there are 3 series, all with Unicron as the main protagonist. Pardon me for my ignorance if this isn't the case. However, Armada is based around Unicron because I have an Armada Unicron and I have an Energon Unicron. Therefore, I'm assuming that there are several cartoons that are based around the Unicron storyline and just tackle them in different ways. Energon Unicron is a tank, is a vessel, is a spaceship. Energon Unicron, you can watch it for yourself how it comes into existence. At the beginning, at the beginning of it, Unicron doesn't exist, and then they slowly put him sort of back together after being destroyed in, I think it's Armada. And this is where it's disappointing, because in the '86 movie, and as anyone who's been watching my channel for a little while, I'm quite partial to a little bit of Unicron, bearing in mind I am a filthy red and do like my Autobots. I love Unicron. I love that he's huge, and I love that he's independent. I love that he's not really a Decepticon. He just wants to hurt and kill and eat and devour and become stronger. And it's an admirable goal for me. I like that. But in Energon, Unicron's just essentially a tank. Especially when Megatron plugs himself into Unicron with no head and just flies the body of Unicron around like it's a massive, great big Energon surfboard. And the whole theory of Unicron being its own robot stops being the case. He just turns into a massive vessel to fly into Energon grids and stuff like that. He becomes a tool as opposed to a character. If that changes after episode 35, 36, then so be it. I'm going to watch the rest of them. I must admit I watched most of it while I was off and unemployed, and now I am employed again and my brain is slowly frazzled. So the last thing I want to do when I get home is watch 2 episodes of Energon a night. Yeah, Unicron was just a bit disappointing. He does look very good in black. Oh, and the bit where he turned from being yellow to being black, that was very good, I think. He didn't have a head, and again, he didn't sort of wake up and go, I'm Unicron. He just changed colour. And when he moves, he's like, and all the other Autobots and stuff like that. If Unicron wanted to swat them, it's like, in this series, he's physically incapable of moving his hands fast enough to really sort of knock someone out of the air. I don't like that. He should be nimble and agile. In the 86 movie, he kind of crunched a Cybertron and stuff like that. Deep down, I quite like it. It's quite hard going at the beginning. Then once you hit episode 19 through to the high 20s, it does pick up an awful lot, and it got quite exciting. I really like when Prime finds Wingsaber. I think that's quite cool. Snowcat is a douche and just shouldn't have been in the series from beginning to end. It's just horribly annoying. Go and watch it, simple as that. If there's one thing I'm going to say about Transformers Energon, the toys are fucking epic. The toys are absolutely brilliant. If you want chunky toys that you can sort of... I don't care, see, I haven't got to worry about it breaking. Nothing's going to fall off this one. If you want just big chunky toys that do this and stuff and this and guns that turn and heads that come off and if you want to play with your toys, then buy some bloody Energon ones, innit? SMS number 1. Going on for a very long time about Transformers Energon, but this is a video response to Gerard of Music, Wolfgang 1. If you don't like it, write him a letter on his YouTube channel that says, Dear Gerard, you shouldn't have asked it because Dave went on for too long. I waive all responsibility. So, as ever, big up your bad selves, and that's it.